Good morning, Chicago Cubs fans. We are back with another edition of Cubs Daily. My name is Stephen Ryan, presented by FanArch. We're going to talk about the ending of the NLCS because it just has to be addressed. Yes, we talk about the Chicago Cubs all on this channel, okay? That is our squad. We love them to death, but we also are baseball fans as well. And we just have to go over what Shohei did in that series-clinching victory over the Brewers. We're going to talk about rumors of the Dodgers going after Kyle Tucker and the long-term implications that may have. We're going to continue our series of grading the Cubs. And last but not least, we'll go over who are free agents for this squad. So let's just hop right into it. So I'm not sure how many of you tuned into Game 4 of the NLCS on Friday night, but if you did, you maybe witnessed the greatest single performance, not only in postseason history, not only in baseball in general history, but maybe the greatest sporting performance in history of the world. What other sport do you play on both sides of the ball in terms of total team control, right? The closest comparison in my mind in terms of team sports would be basketball. It would be like Michael Jordan dropping 50 points and then holding the other team's best player to 2 points on 1 of 25 shooting, where he also had 10 steals and 10 blocks. And again, that's just a really, really rough comparison. There's nothing like what Shohei did in the individual dominant fashion that he performed on Friday night. Now, let's just go over it, right? 6 1/3 inning of 2-hit baseball. You're not going to win many baseball games with just 2 hits. Then he struck out 10 Brewers as well. The Brewers scored a total of 4 runs in the series, 1 in each game. Just utter dominance by Shohei Ohtani. Let's just say he didn't even bat, right? He just said, if you told me your pitcher was going to go out and give you 6 1/3 of 10 Ks, you're like, sign me up. Where's the contract? Then he piled on 3 home runs on top of that. But let's talk a little bit more about it, right? That first inning of that game, he struck out the side. I think they had a runner get on base, but that's not the point here. He struck out 3 batters, and then he led off in the bottom of the first and absolutely ripped one out of the ballpark. No doubt, no hesitation. As soon as it left the bat, it was like a shot heard around the world. Gone. Then proceeded to add 2 more home runs on after that. Utter dominance, okay? The Dodgers, what they paid him, you could have paid him $1 billion. You would have been laughed at. They're going to make their money back. I'm not concerned about that. Shohei Ohtani is worth the price of admission. Now, did location have a big reason to why he wanted to be there? Absolutely. It's close, an easy flight home to Japan, the whole 9 yards. But every team should have been ready to fork over $1 billion for Shohei Ohtani and what he means to baseball, because he is the greatest player to ever play. I was at the gym, and this guy, he said, "Hey, I was like, did you catch the game last night?" And he's like, "No, I didn't have a chance." I was like, "Well, Shohei Ohtani, he was the man." He's like, "Oh yeah, what do you do now?" I was like, "How about 6 1/3, 10 Ks?" He's like, "Oh, very, very nice." And I was like, "He also hit 3 home runs." And he's like, "Wow, 3 home runs. That dude's an alien, man. That is the common name we've been having with this guy, alien." And he's like, "That's very Babe Ruth-ish." Well, I went back and looked. And usually, generally speaking, you can't say something is something-ish from someone who's from the future, right? Babe Ruth, no idea who Shohei Ohtani is. Shohei Ohtani's parents or grandparents might not have even been born when Babe Ruth was playing. But bottom line, Shohei Ohtani is in his own statistical category. He is his own league of baseball player. They're going to try and recreate him. It's never going to happen. What he is and does is just unbelievable. Just downright incredible. So I wanted to touch on Shohei Ohtani because that was just a mind-blowing performance that we saw. Now, let's get on to the news that may impact not only the Cubs, but the rest of Major League Baseball as well. As you know, the Dodgers are 4 wins from winning the World Series here, and they're already reporting the rumors that they're going to be after Kyle Tucker. We heard those rumors early on in the season. You know, the Dodgers, again, when you're talking about these quality level of players, ladies and gentlemen, you have to make the phone call. You have to. It's just downright important, okay? Even if you don't think you have a chance to sign him, you got to call and just gauge the interest. You have to know for the social aspect of it, okay? And so, obviously, the Dodgers are going to be interested in him. John Heyman reported earlier that outfield is one of their weaker points, right? Teoscar Hernandez is one of their defenders. I think they're just like, hey, we'll replace him with Kyle Tucker. That's no big deal. They obviously have the money. They have the market. They get the revenue, the whole 9 yards. So they're going to reinvest in their team. And, you know, if Kyle Tucker sees fit in L.A., fantastic. Fantastic for him. Now, where does this all kind of come together and turn on its head? I think the Dodgers are trying to force Major League Baseball's hand, okay? I think they're trying. It was even said by Dave Roberts at the end of the NLCS. I don't know if you guys heard this or not, but he said, they said at the beginning of the year that we are ruining baseball. We as being the Dodgers. Let's go win 4 more and really ruin baseball. Well, the way it's all shaking out right now, I don't think winning 4 more is going to be a problem for the Dodgers. The real problem here is if they go out and get Kyle Tucker as well, go out and win a 3-peat, and just have an obnoxious payroll well over $400 million. That's the real problem for baseball. Now, do I want other owners to spend? Yes. Do I want my own team's owner to spend? Absolutely. I think all fans would just like it if they all spent every single dollar that we give to the team, right? Like, we know as Cubs fans, we show up to Wrigley Field. We would like to know that our $17 beer is being inputted back into the team. We don't feel that as Cubs fans. And I'm sure a lot of smaller market teams don't feel that as well. So that is why we are barreling towards this lockout in 2027. My strong concern is, and I'm no legal expert, if there's a lawyer, one of the 700 people that subscribe to this channel, if you're a lawyer and you can help me out with this, please drop it in the comments. I'm all ears. You can send an email. I'm willing to listen because I don't understand this stuff. But let's say we get to the 2027 lockout, we agree to a salary cap, et cetera, et cetera. How are you going to just make the Dodgers disband this quickly, right? You can obviously impose them with a tax, but you're not going to be able to just shed these contracts, right? And honestly, the Dodgers, with their salary, they have a lot of deferred payments. They might be able to skirt around some of these lines, and this team can maintain. So again, I don't know all the legal matters. Again, we don't know the set number for the salary cap. We don't know any of that information. We just know that the way the Dodgers are playing the game, it's stacking the deck against the other teams. Which again, if their owners want to spend the money to invest in their teams, I say good for them. They want to win championships. That's what I want as a Cub fan. It's not happening because we're not going to spend $400 million, but I think they're going to come together and try their best to get something more in the middle. You know, they want to put in a salary cap. They're going to put in a salary floor. They're going to do a lot of different things. The problem is the Dodgers can go out and sign Kyle Tucker under this current CBA. They might be grandfathered in. How are you going to just say, hey, all right, you need to cut, let's say the salary cap cap's like $230 million. How are you going to ingrain in these teams that the Dodgers need to shed $200 million in payroll? The Mets are going to have to shed $180-something million in payroll. You know what I'm saying? Payroll will have to be shed by all these teams. What does that mean? That's the part where the salary floor kicks in as well, because a lot of these teams don't want to pay that salary floor. That's where those players are going to go, because it needs to be more of a balanced attack, right? Not necessarily equal payrolls across the board, but, for example, right? Let's say the salary cap's $250 million, and the Dodgers are trying to get rid of Freddie Freeman. Obviously, the Cubs don't need Freddie Freeman because we have Michael Busch, just a different trajectory in their career. But my point being is, is we're not going to be able to take on Freddie Freeman's contract. He would do too much damage to our salary. So where are you going to send him? Pittsburgh? Will he go to Milwaukee? I mean, that'd be a great get for the Brewers. I hope they don't get him. But you know what I'm saying? Like, how are you just going to make these teams shed that much payroll? That payroll has to go somewhere. These contracts are guaranteed. Very curious to see how it all is going to play out in 2027. I could imagine there's going to be a lot talked about going into that offseason next year. But the Dodgers going to get Kyle Tucker is going to create a lot more interesting problems in baseball. I will just say that much personally. So let's get back to the Cubs. I know Kyle Tucker, we are all assuming that Kyle Tucker is not going to be on the Cubs. So how are we going to replace him? That's the question. We can't sit here as fans and be genuinely saying Owen Casey and Kevin Alcantara are expected to replace this man. I can't do that. Could Owen Casey be a great player one day? Yes. Could Kevin Alcantara be a really good player? Yes. But I don't know that. I don't know if those guys are going to be a 4.5 WAR player right out the chute. That stuff takes time. Just go over a lot of your favorite major league players. There is a progression to developing as a baseball player, okay? You don't just become 4 or 5 WAR players out the gate. It's just not done. So how do the Cubs supplement that, right? We talked about Cody Bellinger last show. Is he a realistic possibility? I don't know. Could the Cubs be looking for more production from Michael Busch in PCA to kind of supplement that? Maybe, but that's going to be tough to ask too. I just don't know where the Cubs are going to go and find these guys. Could Eugenio Suarez be a potential piece? Maybe. But again, I'm not sure how the Cubs are going to replace Kyle Tucker. All I can say as a fan is it's not going to just be Owen Casey and Kevin Alcantara doing the work. There needs to be another move to be had. I don't know what that move is. Generally speaking, with Jed, the move kind of comes out of nowhere sometimes. So we'll see how that works out. All right, let's get to grading the Cubs again. And we talked about Ian Happ last show. And, today's show, I am going to be going with our main man, Dansby Swanson, the Lieutenant Dan, the captain of this defense. When we signed Dansby Swanson to that 7-year contract back in 2023, I was very, very pumped. I knew we were going to be getting ourselves a very consistent player in terms of performance defensively. I knew the offense wasn't perfect, but I knew he could have good moments. And this year was his best year offensively as a Cub, I would say, okay? And coming into his 3rd season with the ball club, All-Star his first year, he had a 5.2 WAR. Last year, a 3.9 WAR. This year, right in the between, 4.5 WAR. He really, really did a good job helping this team play premier defense. Again, the Cubs defensively were 2nd in runs saved as a team, which is absolutely incredible. So I'm giving him a B because, he hit 244, his on-base was 300, his slugging 417, home runs 24, and the runs batted 77. His career average, he's a 251 hitter, so he hit a little bit below that. His OBP 318, a little bit below that. He slugged a little bit better. His OPS was a little bit lower. His OPS plus was higher than his career average, which is great to see. But again, probably his best year as a Cub. I know the via WAR, it wasn't his best year. But again, that's probably more due to, let's see here. Maybe, he only had 9 stolen bases that year in his 5.2 WAR. He stole 20 bases this year as well. So again, when we talk about the model of consistency, right? Like, listen to this for Dansby Swanson. 244 his first year, 242 his second year, and 244 this year. Dansby Swanson brings the same performance every single day at the club, which is exactly what you want to see out of your shortstop. And that's why I'm giving him a B. Not everyone can get A's. Not everyone's going to get a D or an F. I'm not that strict in terms of this was just a piss poor season. The Cubs had a really good year. And it was thanks to contributing factors like Dansby Swanson. His presence at shortstop, especially in that wild card series, was unbelievable. unbelievable. Could he have taken better at bats in the DS? Yes, absolutely, of course. I think there's always something you can work on. I'm not going to nitpick, though. A solid B from Dansby Swanson this year. Do I think he could give us a little bit more? Absolutely. But this is what I would like to see from him for the remaining 4 years of his contract. That's just me, personally. All right, so let's get into the basis here. Okay, let's see who the Cubs are losing. Right, we've talked about a lot of the pieces who are coming back to the team. Let's take a look at the list of the players that are not going to be here with us in 2026. Potentially, again, these guys are set to be free agents. That doesn't mean they can't come back to the club, that we can't re-sign them. But Caleb Thielbar, humongous piece for our bullpen. Maybe, hopefully, we can get him back. Brad Keller really showed a lot of great signs later on in the year. I would like to bring him back as well. Maybe you can get him on a 2 or 3 year deal. Again, bullpen arms are a little tricky because they're so year to year. You don't want to commit too much because it could backfire tremendously. Carlos Santana, he was a late in-season acquisition. He's old. He's probably going to retire here soon. Aaron Savale, I like Aaron Savale. I think he'd be a really good reliever. I'd like to have him and Ray as my long arms in the bullpen, just in case, the starters can't get the job done. Michael Soroka, he was a risky pick. He did get hurt, so maybe, the Cubs like him and he comes back on a 1-year prove-it deal. Could be a 5th starter for us, a lot of different flexibility pieces there. Willie Castro, he didn't have his best time here in the city of Chicago, but again, he also didn't get a lot of reps. He didn't get a lot of chances to play. So I think maybe he'll be seeking a contract where he will get to play. He does provide that position flexibility, which you really like to see. He was also one of those trade deadline acquisitions for this team. And obviously, the big free agent for the Chicago Cubs is Kyle Tucker. I think I've made it pretty clear here on Cubs Daily. I would like to sign him for the right price. Am I open to signing Kyle Tucker long-term? Absolutely. Do I want to sign him to a $350 million 10-year deal? No, I don't think those contracts are really going to be happening anymore unless you're Vlad Jr. And again, look at the details of the Vlad Jr. contract and the Shohei Ohtani contract. There's a lot of intricate details than just the raw numbers that you see reported to you. So again, maybe the Cubs enter the deferring game. I doubt it, but you never know. You just got to keep your mind open with all these possibilities. So I would like to bring Kyle Tucker back. Maybe we sign Cody Bellinger instead of Kyle Tucker. I'm not sure what the Cubs front office brass is thinking in this regard, but there's something that needs to be replaced, and either you're going to have to replace Kyle Tucker with Kyle Tucker or a couple more pieces to supplement that team. So those are the upcoming, free agents for the club. If we're going to keep 2 of those, I want to keep Thielbar and Keller. I think those guys were instrumental in that bullpen resurgent at the second half of the season. And again, when you guys think about it, our bullpen was solid. It was really solid. It did get the job done in the postseason. Our offense lacked tremendously. So again, that's just how I see it. But that's going to do it for today's edition of Cubs Daily. If you guys are enjoying the content, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate every single one of you guys. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next one.